My name is Blaze Lazarony. I am a transformational business strategist, founder of Blaze a Brilliant Path, also a best-selling author and speaker. And today we're talking about the top 3 tips to supercharge your business plan. I am so excited about this topic. I am one of those one of those nerdy people. Well, actually, let me take that back. I do know. I'm one of those nerdy people who loves the process of planning. I always have. It's been one of my strengths for many, many years, and I'll delve a little bit more into my story a little bit later. Today, you'll learn my number 1 tip for making this year be your best year yet in your life and business, why New Year's resolutions and vision boards and even word of the year practices can leave you feeling stuck at the starting gate and how to change it, and then how to make and take your big ideas and turn them into strategies that earn you clients, money, and even more business connections. So here's the truth about why a business plan really matters for conscious women entrepreneurs is the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. You've probably heard that before, maybe even many times. Failing to plan is planning to fail, sadly. We as entrepreneurs, some of the really key strengths of entrepreneurs is that they are quick starts, so many of them. And that's a word actually created by Kathy Kolbe. Kathy Kolbe is someone who is the owner of the Kolbe Corporation. She lives in San Diego, and she created a tool that really assesses how people do different things in their lives. And again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I actually have incorporated Kathy Kolbe's work for over the last 8 to 10 years in my business. I really, really like her work. And what's fascinating is many women who choose to become entrepreneurs, and men too, are what they call quick starts. And that means, how I like to describe it, is people who act as if their hair is on fire, meaning that they have an idea and they implement it really, really fast. They just go. They're going from the start gate, which is a fabulous quality, a really incredible quality, because they're the go-getters of the world. They're the ones that get it done. And being a quick start is absolutely fabulous. And the challenge for quick starts, many of them, is that planning is not their forte. They prefer just to jump in and get it done. So what happens is they get caught up in the day-to-day distractions, the drama of running a business, just the grind even sometimes. And they forget to get realigned with who they really are. And so the truth is, when we get into a place of being able to plan ahead, things actually get easier. Now, I know people say planning is boring. I hear you. Okay, I'm one of those few people that think planning is fun, as I said at the beginning of the webinar. So what I'm going to ask you to share is, what is fun to you? So what does fun planning look like for you? And if you'd like, go ahead and type it in the chat bar. I'd love to hear what you think a great planning looks like. You know, I'll share some ideas on some things that people have shared with me about what fun planning looks like. Maybe they like to plan at certain times of the day when they're most productive. Some people are morning people. Some people are evening people, in which they actually plan later in the day when they finish up. Some people's way to make planning more fun is to bring in some tools, stickers, colored markers, scented markers, pens, pieces of paper that align with you. Some people actually even, believe it or not, they like to plan using images. So they use pictures. So whatever is your way of planning, I encourage you to start thinking of ways and how you can integrate that in so that you can make planning more fun for you. So here's the thing. Here's a really important idea, that what I'm encouraging you to do is to consistently plan. But you don't have to be consistent in terms of how you always execute the plan. Do you notice the difference? Consistently plan and not executing the plan in the same way all the time. Make it fun. Bring interesting things in to the process. So the truth is, like I said, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So let me tell you a little bit about me and how I came to this process and why I think planning is so incredibly awesome. Blaze Lazarony, I have a 20-year corporate background. I worked for Macy's for the last 10 years of my career, and prior to that, I was working also in retail. So my major is in fashion merchandising, and I spent 20 years basically learning the retail business. I was a manager on the floor. I was an associate buyer. I was also, at the height of my career, managing 42 stores in Northern California, Nevada, and Minnesota. I was a senior executive, and I was in charge of 2.5 billion, that's B, billion dollars worth of sales in those locations. And my job was to figure out how to best utilize the money that we had in every single store, primarily payroll, but I was actually in charge for all of the money in those stores. So it was a fascinating job, and one which I had the opportunity to meet a lot of people and learn a lot of things and collaborate with I was a senior director, but I also worked with senior vice presidents and the director of stores, as well as the CEO and the CFO on a regular basis for Macy's West. And why I share this story with you is, in order to have a job like that, of course, I had to have a lot of skills and talents, and you don't learn those overnight. You have to go through a process of learning things. And in about 1995, I was actually in the operations world, and I was working in a role in which I only had one store. And when I became a regional, at that point, I first had 3 stores, and then that number became 6, and then that number became 12, and it just kept growing until it was eventually 42. And what happened, though, in 1995 is my boss at the time came to me and said, you have a fabulous memory. You do such a great job of organizing everything, and you're really on top of a lot of ideas. And you need to change things a little bit, though, as you go into this regional role. Because what I was using to plan was essentially my brain. I was keeping everything in my brain and maybe a Post-it note or a notebook from time to time. But I was asking my brain to do all of this work. And what she said to me was, it's not going to be possible in this new role. You're going to have too many roles, too many different things to juggle. And so the company actually sent for me to fly from San Jose down to San Diego. And I was trained in the Franklin Covey planning system. And it was really something that totally made sense to me. And it was a systematic way of planning your week. And I got to tell you, that really sparked an interest for me, because from that, my skills just continued to improve, because I took my planner with me everywhere. And, it was like my blankie, so to speak. I always had it with me so I could take notes and also plan forward on what was going to happen. And so I transitioned out of that role in 2003, what happened was I was diagnosed with cancer. And so I left my corporate job, and it was a really tough time in my life in which, I had some, getting over cancer. I had thyroid cancer. It took me some time to heal because I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety and PTSD. It was a long time of learning. It was about 6 years where I really had to put my priority first on taking care of me, because what had happened was I was totally involved in the rat race of being a workaholic, which I was. I loved my job, and yet I had heard the whispers but wasn't really listening. And what I realized is I wanted to do some other things. So I got one, and then I got a second coaching certification. The first one is from Martha Beck, who writes for the Oprah magazine. The second one is from the ITP, which is the Institute for Transpersonal Psychology. Because what was happening for me is I was trying to meld some more spirituality in my life. Because I was going through cancer, I just knew that I needed something bigger than me to help guide me. Because the life that I was living really wasn't working. The life that I was living was all about status and prestige in my big office in San Francisco overlooking Market Street that I had had as a senior director. And so things needed to change. And what happened, though, in that process is that little planner that I used to carry around, I let it go. I didn't use it anymore. And as more technology came on board, I found myself, I was one of those people that had the Palm Pilot, an early adopter of technology. That's who I am. If you're a fan of Joy Balma, like I am, her book about your understanding your feminine type, she would call me a goddess geek. And I am a geek. I'm really on the bleeding edge of technology. And so I had, in those early days of Palm Pilot, and I was trying to really move to technology on my phone, reminders and all kinds of things. And for me, it was working because I didn't have my, Denise is saying she loved her Palm Pilot too. Yeah, Denise is a fellow strategist, a business strategist, and you rock, Denise, because we share a lot of things in common. And I think there is a bunch of technology goddess geekness in both of us. And so I really, I needed to change how things were going as I created my business, because what was happening was I was putting all these reminders in my phone, but I also really missed this ability to write things down. And, just again, to complete a little bit of a story, in addition to getting my 2 coaching certifications, I have 2 certifications in Writing to Heal. Actually, 1 certification in Writing to Heal and a second one that I'm working on completing. And what that is it's actually using poetry and journaling to better improve who you are. And when I say heal from everything, life experiences. And there's real studies out there by James Pettybaker, who is just a landmark person in this field, and that writing helps. Writing helps us heal. And what I found for me is I have a little bit of what I like to call the ability to remember things if I write it down. I have a little bit of a photographic memory. So if I write things down, I can actually remember it better than just putting it in my phone. So I, have been using my phone for years, and then I needed to find ways to write things down. And I created something, and I'm going to share more of that today about planning. But why I'm sharing this big, long story with you is to really bring it back and circle back to say, I've been planning all my life. I needed it to survive in the corporate career that I had, and I really need it in my business as an entrepreneur. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is to start planning too, and maybe in ways that you haven't been planning in the past. Here's how to get past the starting gate. That was one of the things that I talked about for this brand new year. Because what happens is where many people start planning, and this is a great place to start, is with New Year's resolutions and vision boards and word of the year. And here we are at the early part of the year. It's January 2016 as I'm sharing this recording. And many of you may have had some New Year's resolutions, or maybe even created a vision board, or selected a word for your year. I will tell you, I do all 3. I do all 3 of those things. These are powerful. And what happens is you need something more. You need something more to get past the starting gate. Otherwise, and I love this graphic image, and it's of all of these lovely crystals. I'll call them diamonds because I like bright, shiny things too. And they are bright, shiny things hanging from gold chains. And what happens is we can get caught in the bright, shiny things of New Year's resolutions and vision boards and word of the year, and we never get to the point of execution. We just do the simple part, and we need more reminders. We need more things to keep us going and better planning. When you get past the bright, shiny things of the starting gate, is the first step is to be intentional. One of the favorite quotes that I keep using with my clients these days is called, it's by Reverend Dr. Janie Ryder, and it's called One Wing of Effort and One Wing of Grace. Let me say it again. One wing of effort and one wing of grace. Wow, I could just even feel myself slow down and step into that one wing of effort, one wing of grace. What it means is we don't have to do everything. And the process of being intentional is actually starting with a really, really big vision. A big vision, not a big vision that spins you out, because some people have those too. It's a big vision of where you want to take your business for this year. My vision for my business talks a little bit about how much money I want to make, but that's really only a small part of my vision. My vision is really about who I want to serve and how I want to serve them and what I want to share with them and how many of them I want to serve over the course of the next year. And yes, how much money I want to make, and also how I want to feel in this process. And that is why it's so important for me to do this work with conscious women entrepreneurs. As you can probably guess, my career in corporate America was not so conscious. I think there was plenty of days where I was unconscious. It wasn't until I really started incorporated meditation into my life back in 2001 that things started shifting. And I remember I was sitting at SFO, San Francisco Airport, and my boss and I and a few of my other business colleagues, we were waiting for our flight. And, you know, the hubbub of an airport is the perfect place to try and meditate. And that's what I was doing because I really needed to get centered. And I remembered my boss was like, "Oh, you're sleeping. I'm sorry to wake you." And I said, "Actually, no, I'm meditating." And meditating is a way of us becoming intentional as well. So that big, big, big vision, the big vision is we start with intention. Okay, let me explain the difference between intention and goals, or even resolutions. Goals are actually, in my humble opinion, in the world according to Blaise Lazarony, goals are great. Okay, we've all heard of SMART goals. I use goals all the time. And yet, when I'm talking about, when I think of goals, they seem pretty hard. They seem actually pretty harsh. And in some ways, they feel very, maybe masculine. And I'm not saying that masculine is bad. What I'm saying is that there's not a lot of wiggle room. Either you did it or you didn't. It's yes or no, plain or simple. And that's really important for some things. And yet, when we start with intention, what it means is we have that same feeling of a goal in which we have somewhere we want to be. And with intention, we're also not 100% attached to the outcome. Okay, so what does that mean? Let me give you an example. If I want to get from my driveway to the end of the block, that's a goal. I'm going to get there. Okay, that's a goal. I want to get from my driveway to the end of the block. And an intention would be how I'm going to get there, when I'm going to get there, how I'm going to feel as I'm getting there. I could drive, I could walk, I could skateboard, I could levitate, I could envision in my mind I was at the end of the block. So those are all intentions. I'm still getting there, and yet I'm not 100% attached to the outcome. I know I'll get there eventually. It may take me longer. It may take me less time. What I find is with intentions for me, they're much softer, and they're really in alignment with me because they honor who I am and they don't feel so harsh and so stiff. So that's what I talk about with intentions. What happens when we start with New Year's resolutions or word of the year or even collages, what happens is we go from this big vision all the way down to planning super, super fast. And that's where many of the business gurus that you might go to will take you directly to plans and packages and programs. And as a business owner, will get you there first and say, start there. That's not where I start with my clients as a transformational business strategist. Where I start is with a vision first and be very intentional in terms of how we're going to get there. And from vision, we move through objectives and strategies and then to plans and packages and programs. So it's not just a quick jump. And the reason I'm sharing this planner and talking a little bit about it, let me just also give you the link if you're listening to this after the program. It's http://bit.ly, so bit.ly/monthly planner. That's monthly planner, all one word. And I created this Illuminated Stepping Stones planner. And the reason I did this is because I couldn't find anything on the market that would integrate with my phone and integrate with how I like to write and plan my year, month, and week. So I created one. And I created this back in 2012, and I've been using it ever since then. And what I realized was, I'm going to be really transparent. I was kind of saving it for myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to share this with other people. I know there's other transformational people out there in the world, conscious women entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, healers, just like you that are listening to this webinar that need something like this. It's simple. Why I created this is because it is so simple. I still use my phone to plan all my events, because one of the things I learned when I went to Franklin Covey is you only write your appointments in one place. Wow, that tip was a game changer for me. Only one place. So all my appointments go in my phone. And then, of course, the great news today is it syncs across your phone and, Google. If you're using Google or whatever you're using, you can see it on your computer, on your phone, on your iPad, everything. Back in the day, lots of people were, posting it wherever. So the reason I still have appointment dates in the planner that I've created is it's actually a process of me rewriting out my daily appointments. And why would I be so absurd to do that? Again, because it goes back to my Writing to Heal learning, and it's a process. I'm going to be really transparent and talk to you a little bit about some of the woo things that I do in my world. I always say single woo, not double woo, not woo-woo, but woo. Woo is my connection to spirit, God, source, spirit one, something bigger than me. And the reason I write those names on the timeline in my calendar, in the Illuminated Stepping Stones planner, in my daily calendar, is because as I write out that name, I actually think of that person. So if I were to write Joy Balma's name, that we're having an appointment to discuss me being a goddess geek or a success girl, I would think of her as I write it down. It's a different process when you type it on a keyboard. When you write it in your own hand, it's actually crossing from one side of the brain into the other, and it's getting into your brain differently. And OPS, you are emotionally connecting with that person. You are calling them in and thinking good thoughts about them as you write down their name. So it's an incredible process. That's why I still use that part of the planner. And the next tip is really talking about how to make this your best year yet. Your best year yet. And I know I've talked to a lot of people and they've said to me, 2015, whoa, it was hard. It was a tough year. Talk about challenges. I learned so much. And I'm just raising my hand to tell you, I was one of those people too. I learned a lot last year. And 2016 has a totally different energy for me. And I'm also hearing it is for other people too. And so how to make this your best year yet is called Be at Choice. Okay. All right. That might be kind of a high level concept, and yet not at all. Be at choice means say yes or say no and make a choice. and make a choice right now. And you know what I talked about before about those people that are quick starts, many entrepreneurs who are high quick starts, they're really good at making choices. They're really good. What happens though as entrepreneurs is many times we get into this morass mode of like, oh my gosh, which autoresponder should I use? Oh my gosh, how can I write the sales page for my ideal clients that they really understand? We're not procrastinating. We're actually, we're really trying to make it be the best we can. I talk to so many people who, it's not about perfection. It's really about trying to connect with the people that they want to connect to. The best way to make this the best year yet is to choose to be at choice. Make a choice, and make a choice quickly. Don't second guess it. Make a choice and move. So the corollary to be at choice is be at choice and move forward. So I'll go and I'll be really transparent and share my word of the year. It's actually 2 words. It's called illuminated. Yes. Illuminated as in light, as in sparkle, as in brilliance, as in it feels so open and so expansive and so much bigger than me. And yes, and that I say yes. I say yes to those things that I haven't said yes to before. I just simply say yes. I don't need to get caught up and think about it and contemplate for days on end. I say yes, even when I don't know what the outcome is. And what I'm finding, today's January 21st, 21 days into this month. And is it a predictor? Maybe, maybe not. It takes 21 days, somewhere between 21 and 28 days to create a habit. But I can tell you things are certainly shifting for me with illuminated yes. So does it start with those vision plans, vision boards and collages and word of the year and New Year's resolutions? Absolutely. And what's next, again, is being at choice and taking action. I posted something on Facebook today. Reggie Bush originally shared it. I don't know if it's his, but I want to say the quote. The quote is, "I still remember I prayed for the things I have now." I still remember I prayed for the things that I have now. Pretty powerful to hear that. Gosh, do you remember before you had the things that you have now? And the things that you have now, you might just take for granted. You might have 2 beautiful little girls who smile at you every night as you tuck them in. You might have this incredible business, and you never thought it was possible. You prayed for these things, and today you have them. And you also have challenges that you never expected, never anticipated, wish they would go away, and yet they're here to teach you something. You're here to learn this lesson. You're here to become, and I can again say this because I'm talking to conscious women entrepreneurs who understand this message, that you're here to learn and evolve in terms of who you are as an individual and maybe even your connection to source. There's reasons that we don't even know why we're here yet. We're here to, really find our purpose and do that in this world. That's the people that I work with know that about themselves. They may not know what it is yet. They're working for it. It's one of those treasure hunts where they're looking to uncover what it is. Or sometimes we might have just a little inkling of it, that we know that we were put on this earth to share other people's messages, to really tell them that their voice matters. Michelle Radomski's coming to mind right now. She's someone out there who's sharing that every voice matters, every single one. And the work she does as a graphic designer and designing books and helping nonprofits with their work and even individuals with sacred containers, mandalas. It's that she's saying every voice matters. That's why she's here in this world. We all have our reasons that we're here. Betty Ann Green is this incredible copywriter. I don't know if you've had the chance to meet her yet. Betty Ann has this amazing ability to take these really high concepts and make them simple and really communicate to the audience that needs to listen to it, to the ideal clients of her ideal clients, and translate that message across. So we're all here for a purpose. We're uncovering it and discovering it every day. So I love this quote. Again, I still remember I prayed for the things I have now. Yeah, I remember praying for what I have now. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing that it's here. One of the things I prayed for is to be able to do this webinar and to have you listening and for me to share my voice doing this. So here it is. It's happening. So thank you for listening and being a part of it. I honor that. So here's the thing. Pull out that journal or your pen and a piece of paper, and we're going to go for about 3 minutes here. And what I'm going to invite you to do is write down your top 25 goals for this year in the next 3 minutes. I know, I'm not giving you a lot of time. This is really you tapping into your fast writing hand. So write top 25 goals for this year in the next 3 minutes. Could be your business goals, could be your personal goals. And as you write, and your pen is probably moving furiously, or even if you're not writing, that's okay too. Just think about what are some of those things that you'd really like to goal yourself for this year. Goal yourself, intention for yourself, dream about whatever word resonates for you. Maybe it's writing more blog posts. Maybe it's working with more clients. Maybe it's becoming more visible in the world, sharing your message. Maybe you want to be a best-selling author, write a book, be part of a collaborative book. Maybe you want to speak more, do more workshops. Maybe you want to support yourself. Maybe there's a new exercise program that you want to do. Or maybe there's lots more books you want to read. So as you continue to write, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. Early in my business, I did all those things. Well, maybe not all of them, but I did a lot of things. I wrote, I was on podcasts, blog posts, webinars, all kinds of things. I was a guest on a lot of things. And what I realized in the early days of my business, I was doing a lot of things. And I was saying yes to a lot of those. Talk about being a choice. And yet I didn't have a unified plan on why I was doing it. Remember how we said we start with our big vision first? Well, I didn't start with a vision. I actually started with just doing things. And I'm going to tell you, I know I'm not that unique, because I have the opportunity to talk to conscious women entrepreneurs every single day, either in person or social media. I watch. I'm a big time observer, and I see what's happening and what's said and not said. I'm also an intuitive, so I get messages about what's really going on out there. And that's where a lot of people start. A lot of people just kind of go out there and shotgun approach. It's not that it's a bad approach. I'm not saying that. And yet what happens is when we don't have a focus, when we don't have a big vision, we just do everything. And it's not unified, and we're actually spinning ourselves out in overwhelm, and we're confusing the marketplace because they don't know what we're doing. It's, in the end, it can be a really detrimental strategy. And I tend to work with conscious women entrepreneurs that have been in business 2+ years. That's really where my specialty is, because I really understand how to ramp up a business from a start. And yet, it's important that we go out and experiment in the beginning. And yet, there is a time, and it usually is around the 18-month to 2-year mark, I got to tell you, based on my history. And it was the same thing that I was seeing these same type of trends in retail. It is funny that once we anniversary ourselves for the first year, and then we're in it a little bit more, meaning 18 months to 2 years, things start coalescing, things start coming together, things start really lining up, and we see things in a different way. And as entrepreneurs, we're constantly reinventing ourselves. And yet, it's important to go through that process. And when we start coming together, though, at about the 18-month to 2-year mark, then things start shifting, and it's really time to find that really big vision. Before, we might have been experimenting, and experimenting is important. Kind of like going through those teenage experimental years, if any of you might have experienced those. It's taking it to the next level. So at this point, you probably have your 25 goals. And it might look a little daunting. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do right here, is to be at choice and keep your top 5. Cross out 20 of them. Yeah, I haven't lost my mind. I'm actually asking you to cross out 20 and focus it down to 5. Your magic number might be 6, like mine. Your magic number might be 4 or 3. But really focus, just like I talked about, really focus on what you'd really like to accomplish this year. And what I found for me in doing this process is it's fascinating, because you can actually see how many of those 25 are linked. And when you get down to 3, 5, or 6, or maybe even 10, maybe you need a little bit more. When you get down below that 20 number, down to the 10 number, you'll find that all of these are actually related, and you tend to find the universal themes, some really incredible universal themes. So I'm going to invite you, even after this webinar finishes today, to look for your universal themes. Your universal themes might look like something like having a mentor to support you in this process that you didn't even know. Maybe your universal theme is something along the lines of creating more community for yourself and for your clients. Maybe your universal theme is about being more consistent in the things that you do. Maybe your universal theme is about growth and expansion. So look at those things. Those were some of the things that mine came down to. And again, many conscious women entrepreneurs that I work with, who are coaches, consultants, and healers, come up with those same things. So as core themes, it is fascinating when we get down a little bit deeper and look at these more core themes. The core themes tend to be things that we're working on not only for our business, but also in our personal lives. Not but, let me rephrase that. And also in our personal lives. One of the things I'm really trying to do, as you just heard me do, is to take the word but out of my vocabulary. And I'm training my brain that when I say it, to actually stop and change my language to and. You also may have heard me say early in the webinar something along the lines of, I don't know. That's not the truth. The truth is, I do know. And whenever I hear myself utter those words, I actually try and stop and reframe it to, I do know. I don't know. That phrase is one of the phrases that we as women use to dumb down our power, to not stand in our truth. The truth is, we do know. And so when we phrase it differently and say, I do know, and what happens is when we say what our truth is, we'll know. The truth is, or I know, ... That's when we're really owning our truth. Pretty powerful stuff. That's some of the work that I do, is a subtle work that I do in terms of mindset work and shifting who we are and how we present ourselves in the world. So the third tip I'd like to talk about is how to take your big dreams and ideas and turn them into strategies. As I said, I'm a transformational business strategist. I love strategy. I could talk strategy all day and all night. Just ask my husband. he'll he'll attest to that. And how to take those big ideas and turn them into strategies. It sounds really simple. It's called be present. And this graphic here that I'm sharing is of this bumblebee going towards this incredible, yummy, juicy flower. It's all about being present in this present moment, stepping into what's here now. There's magic, if you want to call it magic, all around us. You know, those word of the year, when we choose them, we start seeing it everywhere. When we set an intention, after 21 to 28 days, it becomes a habit. Wow. When you start being present, you really notice what you're calling into your life. What's really incredible is I was preparing for this webinar today. I opened up one of the books that's here on my desk by my friend Deborah Schmaus, and it's called Create a Life You Love. Okay, so again, want to be transparent. What chapter do I open up to in her book? It's called Life Isn't Certain, but It Helps to Create a Plan. Isn't that funny that that's the chapter that I opened up to? That's synchronicity here, people. That's the type of work that I know you're doing. And that's when we know that there's something bigger than us guiding us in this process. Strategy is really important. Being present, having a plan and creating a strategy, being present to what is one wing of effort, one wing of grace. And what Deborah talks about in this particular chapter is the fact that she wanted to move her office. And she created a plan on what she wanted her office to look like, as well as a big vision, and how it came together, and how she was present with that process. And being present also means allowing those feelings to show up. You know, so allow those feelings to show up about what it is when we're present. Some of those feelings, they're not pretty. Some of them are really stressful. They're anger, frustration. You know, every single entrepreneur that I've ever talked to always wants their business to be further along. And I got to tell you, managing $2.5 billion in corporate America, boy, we always wanted bigger businesses. That's who we are. And when we become present, when we really be present to what is, we can look at what's possible and how we need to get from here to there. And when we're present, one of the things I talk about in Illuminated Stepping Stones is engaging in monthly and weekly centering processes. Okay, and so these centering processes are kind of like meditation, in that we actually are calling in what we want for the week. We're talking about how we were challenged the week before. We're also writing down who is going to guide us this week. And sometimes we're just writing down names, and we don't even know how they're going to come in and how they're going to help us. You know, maybe it's one of those things that we're just maybe downdrafting off some of their energy. I have a friend that we've been friends for 6 years. I've never met her in person, and yet we talk all the time and we connect over the internet, and I know she's got my back. I call on her energetically and she shows up. It's incredible, you know, and it's people on this side of the veil and on the other side of the veil. It's really allowing everything to come in. And this centering process really puts us in a place of how we're going to bring our month and our week together. And when I back up from that, when I really talk about this process that I learned at Franklin Covey many, many years ago, I also learned something from a mentor. And what it says is we can actually, you know, well, let me back up. We're all in this quick mentality. We want it now. We want it right now. In fact, we wanted it yesterday. Why isn't it here? And that's kind of what our world is right now. But what we're showing, research has actually gone a step further to show that long-term goals are really critical to maintaining our motivation, not just these quick, fast goals or ideas or visions. Long-term goals keep us motivated. And what I discovered from this mentor of mine is she was actually sharing some research that she has read that you can accomplish more in 1 year than you think is possible. And the caveat to that is we actually accomplish less than we think is possible in 1 day. Let me say that again. We can accomplish more in 1 year than we ever really think is possible. And yet we accomplish less in 1 day than we think is possible. I'm sure you probably know that. You're probably living that, especially for those of us who think there's 48 hours in every day. That's where that came from. We think we can do more. And yet when we start this process of really looking at taking those 25 down to a list of 5, maybe letting it grow a little bit to 10 as we add our personal goals and our business goals, and write them in the Illuminated Stepping Stones planner for our 1-year goals. What's pretty incredible, and I've done this because I've been using this planner since 2012, what I find is many of these goals that I set out for myself for 1 year, I actually accomplished at the 6th month to 9-month window. I actually accomplished them faster. And yet, the goals that I set out for myself for every day, I get frustrated sometimes because I'm not crossing all those things off my list. That's not actually the real goal. It's not about crossing everything off your list. Sometimes it's about saying, actually, I wrote it down, but I'm not going to do it. Not but. And I'm not going to do it. This part of being at choice and saying, actually, I wrote it down and I'm not going to do it. So I'm actually not going to write it down on the page any longer. And one of the things I learned with Franklin Covey is that you're supposed to keep writing it down until you accomplish it, or you make the conscious choice not to do it. Pretty powerful. That's why this process of writing is so important. As you're writing that thing down again, day after day after day, and you still haven't done it, and you haven't done it, that's when you really want to go back and look at it. Also, when we engage in the centering process, what I found for me, again, in using Illuminated Stepping Stones, and really being present to what is, there's so much here that I don't see. It's kind of like, as I said, in preparing for this webinar, I opened Deborah's book and it landed on just the page about making a plan. Now, why would that be? I don't know the answer to that. And I'm in the mystery of it, in the thrill of what that is. Those things like that actually help me accomplish my goals even faster, my intentions even faster. When I focus on only a small number, I goal myself to only accomplish 3 major things a week. And I break those down into smaller steps on the course of a day. Now, there may be lots of moving pieces. Just to put together this webinar was a lot of moving pieces. I didn't do it overnight. I've been doing it for weeks. Quite frankly, I've been doing it for months. And when I think about it, I've actually been doing it for years. So it's a building process. So when we talk about Supercharge, Supercharge is actually taking those things that we've learned and now we have better knowledge in fact, maybe we're experts in now, moving it forward in our business until it becomes part of second nature in what we do. My 3 tips to help you supercharge your business, they seem really, really simple. They are simple. I think the best tips are simple. And yet the concepts of these 3 tips are very complex. And yet, at the same time, very simple. So the first tip is to be intentional. Create your big vision. Really, what do you want to accomplish by the end of 2016? Your big vision. Paint it with markers and coloring books and paper. Dream big, because I told you, over the course of the year, you can accomplish more than you ever thought possible. 2016. Where will you be a year from now? It starts with being intentional. The second tip is to be at choice, to say yes and to say no. Really be diligent in what you say yes to and what you say no to, and mean it. And don't second guess yourself. Really, truly say yes and keep moving forward, or say no and keep moving forward. Because what you'll find is what you're actually doing, and I'm kind of clicking my fingers here, what you're doing is you're getting in a rhythm. And I'll go back to what I said before. As women entrepreneurs, when we stand in this process of trusting ourselves and really saying yes or no, we don't have to go back and second guess anymore. Because if we said no to something, it's going to come back around. And it'll be wearing a different coat. And at that point in time, you can try it on if you want to. Do you get what I just said? It's never really gone. You just come back to it and it looks a little bit different. And maybe the timing was off. Maybe it was, we used to have this line that we'd use in corporate America all the time. And my role was right person, right place, right time. Maybe it was not the right time. And you said no. And sometime in the future, it'll be a more right time. And you say yes. So that energy of second guessing, let it go. Be at choice. Let it go. Observe what happens. What does it feel like when you stand in your power and say yes or no? And the third tip to supercharging your business is being present, staying in the moment. Watch what's going on. Look at what's going on in your particular market. Be present to what's around you, how you can support people. Look for problems, challenges, concerns. Listen to your ideal clients on what they want. And when they tell you what they want, if it's within your scope of expertise, create it for them. Because they're there, standing in front of you, asking you for it. And if it's within your scope of expertise, and the other caveat is you want to do it, you're passionate about doing it, do it. Be present. Center yourself. Do your own thought work. The work I do with my clients is around creating, positive mindset and creating strategies. So here we are. We've done this incredible webinar, and I haven't given you these incredible strategies. Actually, I have. These are powerful strategies that are actually the basis of a transformational business, of a conscious business, one where you're intentional, one where you're always at choice, and one where you're being present to what's showing up. Those 3, live by those 3, you're going to have this incredible, incredible business. Because part of it is getting out of our own ways, getting out of our ego, and staying present to what's showing up for our clients and serving them in the best way possible. And that's what I know people who I work with want to do. So in wrapping up today, if what you heard, you'd like some more feedback, comments. Maybe you'd like to run your 25 that you've now narrowed down to 5 with me. Maybe you'd like to talk about some of the things that I offer my clients in terms of how to take their business and really step into powerful strategies. And I just really brushed at the plans and packages and programs. But as I said, I work with conscious women entrepreneurs who are frustrated on how to become profitable and successful. I help them create a strategic business, a custom fit business. That's really important to me. A custom fit business that's totally in alignment with who they are, so they can make all the money they want and live a soul-based life that lights them up. Because the truth is, we're all down here for a limited time doing this thing. And I want to help make it a profitable, happy, joyous experience that you can share your expertise with the world. So if there's ways I can help you do that, I'd love for you to set up a strike a match session. Strike a match is my word for a strategy session, just to talk about what you want. This isn't high pressure sales or anything like that. It's for me to understand what you have on your plate, where you want to take your business this year, what things are challenging you, maybe how I can help you. I may have contacts. I have a lot of contacts. One of the things I love doing is making connections and contacts to other people who may be able to support you in this process. So if you'd like to do that, visit my website, www.blazeabrilliantpath.com. Again, that's www.blazeabrilliantpath.com. Go to the contact page and sign up for a strike a match session with me. I'd love to talk to you and learn more about what you're up to. I'm also looking for opportunities. I'm going to be transparent. One of those things that we talked about, our goals for the year. My goal is to have more speaking engagements, to appear on more people's podcasts, to share my message with other people, because I know this is my year. I told you that. I also said, I know this is your year. So it's time for you to continue to focus on those things. And if I can help, I'd love to support you in the journey. By the way, these are the first 3 of what I call these 3 steps: be intentional, be at choice, and be present. They're the first 3 of what I call the 7 B's of brilliance. And it's kind of like the Beatitudes. I use that process because of the work that I do in my business. So these are the first 3. These are the foundational elements: being intentional, being at choice, and being present. And it was my honor and pleasure to share this webinar with you today. And if you would, if you aren't listening to this live, thank you so much for listening to the replay. And thank you for all of you for typing into the chat. I really appreciate you being here. And please connect with me on social media. If you'd like to share this with anyone, I'd be honored, because I want to continue to share this message with the world and help as many conscious women entrepreneurs create businesses that are in alignment with them as I possibly can. So thank you again. Have a great day.